Hello and welcome to the Baron's Game Room, and let's make a game. Some of you probably know that we here at the Baron's Game Room design and publish our very own tabletop games, like our recently funded Mini Meeple Melee, and we're pretty much constantly working on new ones. This is actually one we were playing last night, and that's one I plan to do some work on later. Now, if you follow us on social media, you might know that we were at TokenCon a couple weeks back, a local gaming convention here in the Oklahoma area. And the big guest of the convention was game designer Jay Cormier. He designed games like Belfort and Mind Management. Now, Jay offers an online game design course called Fail Faster, which has a complimentary piece, the Fail Faster Game Design Journal. And we used this tool during the convention for a game jam. For those of you who may not know what a game jam is, it's the same whether it's for tabletop or video game. Basically, you have a certain amount of time to use a handful of components or mechanics or similar constraints or whatever to make a game. Now, one of the coolest things about this journal that I won't show you too much of is its game idea generator. Basically, you roll a couple of dice or flip to a random page in the book a few times to give you some mechanics, themes, and constraints to use for your game idea. Basically, for our game jam, we rolled some dice 9 times and ended up with 3 mechanics, 3 themes, and 3 constraints. If you want to play along at home, this is our exact list we came up with. Basically, you're supposed to pick one thing from each category and use that for your game idea. We have pattern building, route and network building, variable phase order as possible mechanics, city building, nautical, and post-apocalypse as theme, and has exploration but without any blind decisions, uses cards but in a way you haven't seen before, or is a one versus many game as our constraint. When we participated, we decided to go with pattern building, a city building theme, and a one versus many constraint. Now, other than just getting the list of game idea constraints, everyone was also giving a bag of various components. Each participant got a marker, 10 meeples, 30-ish cubes, 15 of these little plastic token marker things, 20 dice, and I think 80 cards. There was also blank paper and a big pool of various other bits and pieces at the front table you can go grab. So obviously, if you're playing at home, feel free to kind of use those plus other bits if you'd like as well. Now again, we had 2 hours to come up with a game, and pretty quickly we settled in on wanting to do our 3 like that. There was a little bit of wanting to do a nautical, but mostly just stuck to our 3. And if I'm being perfectly honest, by the time it was all said and done, what we came up with, I don't like it. I kind of hated it even. There was one mechanic I really enjoyed. But yeah, I'll show you what we came up with. So early on, I noticed that other than this weird yellow color, there were the same color of these cubes as we had of these dice. And that immediately made something start going in my head. We knew we were doing a city building game where you were probably going to be playing cards out onto a map building out of town. But we needed some way to get those cards to the table. And that was probably one of the last things we figured out. But eventually we finally came up with a way to generate the resources which we wanted to use the cubes for. What we came up with is players would roll one of each color die. After you roll, you would match up matching numbers. Then you would choose any number you rolled. So I could choose 5, 4, or 2. Whichever number I choose, I gain a resource for every die of that color. So basically in this example, I could pick 2 and gain 1 white, 1 black, and 1 green resource. I could pick 4 and just get 1 red, or 5 and just get 1 blue resource. You then use those resources to play down the cards that had various things to build in town. The group of players playing the many had a deck of cards that had things you'd probably want to have in a nice small town. Neighborhoods for people to live, schools to go to, parks to play in, and some local shops. Whereas the one player is playing as a big businessman who just wants to get things that make money into the town, like malls, big corporations, factories, and landfills. Whereas each of the players in the mini group were small-time investors rolling just 1 of each resource die a turn. The player playing the big rich corporation man rolled 3 of each color dice per turn. So even though the one guy was going against at least 3 other players, he was getting to roll basically 3 players worth of dice in any one turn. But still, he had to pick one single number to collect resources from. From there, what we came up with is that players would be playing down their cards in a 4x4 grid. Once the full 4x4 grid was built, your town was done, and we'd see who won. As the many, the small corporation people, what you're doing is you're trying to build a nice, pleasant town that people really want to live in, which basically means you're trying to play neighborhoods and get good things around those neighborhoods so that more people move into those neighborhoods. And it needs to be refined, which again, we didn't really like the whole idea, is that the big billionaire corporate guy is trying to get as many of the big money-making stuff into town as possible and doesn't really care if people are living in that town. So by the end of the game, if The many were able to get 10 meeples to the table, then they won. Anything less, the corporate man won. So basically, anytime a neighborhood is built onto the board, you will add 1 meeple to that neighborhood that moves in. And anytime you build nice things around it, like shops or parks, you add another meeple to the neighborhood. But anytime something like a factory is built next to it, people don't really want to live next to that, so you remove a meeple from that neighborhood. Also, neighborhoods don't necessarily count as good things, so building in a new neighborhood just gives you 1. They don't add to each other. Again, in the quick 2 hours we had, that was our basic idea, where again, you're building out that full 4x4 grid and just seeing if the good players, the many, could manage to get all 10 meeples onto the board. Basically moved into town. Not like I keep saying, it wasn't super great. I'm onto it. I'm probably not going to press forward on finishing out this idea. The one thing I really liked from it, and I definitely will be using again, is that resource generating mechanic. I don't know why, I just thought that was a super cool way to go about it, and I think I already have another game idea that I can put it into. But hey, anyways, thanks for listening to me go this whole time and all that, and seriously, I want you guys to play along. Use that little list I made, and feel free to stitch this video and share what you guys can come up with, alright? I want to see some cool game ideas you've got. If you want to use any of the resources I had, you can go check out failfaster.ca for his whole game design course, and I believe you can buy the Failfaster Game Design Journal over on thegamecrafter.com. But yeah, so that's kind of what it's like. It's not always in a tight frame like that, but game jams can be super fun. It was our first time competing, and we really enjoyed it. We'll probably try it again, just for funsies, why not? I also wanted to read this quote on the back before I went, because clearly me and Jay have a similar mindset on this. Get the game out of your head and into your playtesters' hands. The sooner you know what needs to change in your game, the sooner you will succeed. Fail fast. Anyway, y'all, thanks for checking in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next time.